Yes people, this is just a quick video of me breaking down my new track Hit That Switch, which just came out on No Preset Records as part of my Dopamine Enhancer EP. If you have any questions of how I did anything in the track, please leave them down below or flick us a DM. Please like and subscribe also, and let's get into it. First of all, I'm just going to do a quick run through of the track if you haven't heard it already. It's out now on all the streaming platforms and Beatport, so if there's any DJ that liked the tune, if you would get a copy, that would be really appreciated. So I'll just go to the last drop where everything's happening. Cool, so that's what we'll be breaking down today. So this is the project file for Hit That Switch. A bit of background for the song: I was heavily inspired by DJ producer Rendher. Really love his cool groovy bass lines and his very unique glitch sounds. Within this project you will see I use a lot of sounds from his sample pack. Definitely check that one out if you're into his sound. I think it was on Loop Masters from memory, but I'm sure if you just give it a search you'll be able to find it. Okay, so let's get into the track, and we will be starting off with the kick. So this is what my kick group sounds like. So I have two layers within my kick group, one sub kick and a top layer as well. So without the with the top layer, it actually gives a lot more perceived loudness, and this will help the kick cut through the mix. So even if you want to layer another kick, or even you can use just a hi-hat on your kick, it will definitely do the job. And processing wise, I just have a glue compressor gluing the two sounds together. And on the sub kick I have shaper box, which trims down the kick to make it nice and tight and fit with the bass. So pretty simple, and it's very important to pick the right kick, or else your low end just won't sound good, doesn't matter what you do. So let's move on to the bass. So this is what the bass sounds like. That is the MIDI for it, and I used silent for this bass sound, and that is that's a preset there if you want to copy it. And for this bass line I used a acid bass generator, and I also noticed Rendher did a tutorial on Fader Pro, and he used another generator excuse me, called Sting, which they do very similar things. They're both Max for Live plugins, and I'm not 99% sure that they're both free also. So I'll show you just how you use this sequencer. Get rid of that one. So if you just want to delete the MIDI, you want to click on. So this is what the original bass it spat out. So I use that and then change a few of the notes around to obviously make it sound like this. So yeah, it just has a bit more call and response, I'd say. And like if you It's extremely easy to use. All you want to do is just click this smiley face and you'll see that the notes change, and it just spits out different bass lines every time. And if you like what it sounds like, you can just hit clip, and we can just drag this into our project. And then what you want to do is turn this off, or else it'll clash and play twice if you've got MIDI on that channel already. Just sort of that, which is pretty cool. And then you could change anything, move notes across or whatever. Cool. So that's that. So that's how I made the bass line, and I'll just quickly go through the processing. Shaper box for my sidechain, fab filter, cutting out everything under 35 hertz, ducking a bit of the sub as well because it got a bit much, and just boosting a bit of the mids to cut through. Well, not really heavy sidechain, but just trying to contain those peaks. And another thing you can do, because obviously the glue compressor isn't as visual as the standard compressor, so you can just set this to nothing. If you take on the compressor, as you can see, like the peaks are just a bit higher, and this just tames them a little. And then I've just got a filter for automating or taking the sub out and bringing it back in again. And sorry, on the bass kick, I've got the EQ, just rolling off under 30 hertz, taking a bit of mids out as well. On the low end, a soothe. I normally put this on most channels or most buses or groups. And it just takes off any resonant frequencies. It's quite an expensive plugin, so my advice is to maybe wait for Black Friday sales, or just keep an eye out on the website. It is by a brand, Oak Sound. I'm not too sure how you pronounce that, but just search Soothe plugin and you'll find it. Cool, so that is the low end together. Next, we'll move on to the vocal. With the vocal, I wanted to get a rap or like R&B a cappella, and I found one by Eazy-E, which is called Hidden Switches, which is where like the main hook kind of, I wouldn't really call this a hook, but the main vocal and inspo. Now when I hit that switch, I'm with for the name was, and I also grabbed an a cappella, No More Questions, and at the start of this tune, it's like a bit of an interview. I'll just quickly play it.
We're sitting here with Eazy-E.
Believe that.
How are you doing?
All right.
So Easy, tell me, how is your life as a youngster?
And then it just goes into it. I thought that'd be cool to use in the track. Throughout the track, I just chopped the vocal up, and I've just added different effects.
We're sitting here with Eazy-E.
Believe that.
1, 2, 1, 2. How are you doing?
All right.
So some are dry and some are obviously more wet.
I agree with my man here.
And this was another Eazy-E interview. It's good with, if you use like a old school rappers tunes and normally have like interviews on different radio stations or whatever, and it's cool to drop. I like to like drop stuff like that within the track. And you might have heard like a glitchy effect on the vocals here.
1, 2, 1, 2.
So what I've done, I've got a bus channel of Tantra on the GL Chop Sec preset. It's in there. And then just cut off the lows and really the hi-hats. And this is what just the Tantra sounds like, soloed. Which sounds cool, and sometimes benefit of putting it to a bus, you keep the original signal dry, so you can just amend the effects a bit more without affecting the original. But just you just test it out, like they say. They say there's no rules, so you just see what works well for your track. And then yeah, this is the main vocal, I guess, the start of the drop.
1, 2, 3, enter the 4, easy motherfucking E with the chrome to your.
Which works pretty well with the bass line. I'm not too sure what key it's in, but I feel like it worked okay. So that is it for the vocal. Processing wise, just have a de-esser from Waves, taking out all the T and S sounds. You'll be able to hear it, here. So it's all like, I think it's around like most like 7-8K, where like that harshness comes from T and S sounds, and the de-esser just takes them away. Once again, Soothe, taking out all the resonant frequencies. Oxygen Inflator is a wicked plugin. I think it's almost like a compressor and like dimension expander kind of thing. It just makes you should be able to hear it. Sorry, let's unmonitor that.
1, 2, 3, enter the 4, easy motherfucking E with the chrome to your.
It just adds like good width, and then it pushes that sound, just beats it up, and then just an EQ, taking out the lows.
1, 2, 3, enter the 4.
I probably should have put a bit of reverb. Looking back now. Oh well. And then yeah, I think it's just mostly EQing. I don't think I used Vocal Fun. The beat repeat. I did.
1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2.
So beat repeat in Ableton. They've got a preset called Vocal Fun. Play around with that, and it just it repeats the beat and can make cool like glitchy effect sounds. So definitely definitely a good trick to add that cool ear candy. Okay, so that's pretty much it for vocals. We will move on to the drums next. This is what all the drums sound like together. And with the kick as well. So I like to split my drums up into perks, hats, and then I keep my claps separate, just mostly because sometimes I'll filter out all the tops and keep the clap to just hit. So this will go hats and cymbals first. So I used a lot from, or I used 2 loops from Rendher sample pack. So like cool glitchy hats, good grooves on them. Just like a simple hat, another top, shaker, and just a couple open hats and just a single clap as well by itself. Processing wise, a multi-band imager just to add a bit of width to the highs. So ideally, so multi-band imager to add some width to the highs. You can also use this plugin called Monster. I just added this on before to show you guys, but I didn't have this on the original project. saturation. Saturn, really good at beefing up sounds. Just doing a little bit, and it will, when you saturate your sounds, it should take off a bit of the transients. So when you're going into your group compressor limiters, it's not working as hard, and same on your master as well. So I recommend to saturate your drums and then just taking out everything under 300 hertz. Trying to get rid of some harshness there. And just a bit of glue compression and clipping at the end. And it's good to clip in stages instead of like on your master channel, so then your limiters and clippers aren't working as hard and it won't sound as distorted. And I just want to show you something a bit more on saturators, or Ableton specifically. So if you see with this loop, it's hitting, say, like minus 21, minus 20 and a half, let's just say. But you take off the saturator, so it's hitting minus 17. So maybe that's 3 dB of headroom, right? And when you notice, you put the saturator on, it actually sounds louder and has more presence. So you could really crank this if you wanted to. And you've gone down even more. So this is the original. It's quieter. And it's hitting minus 17 dB. So very handy to use saturation. Just if it doesn't add that perceived loudness, I wouldn't probably put just a saturator on everything, but it definitely does work. And once again, like, use saturation on your groups. Here, I think it's better to use effects a little bit at a time instead of just like one big one. At least you got more control at each stage. Okay, that's enough with the hats, and yeah, just clap processing, just an EQ. Yeah, just got rid of that bit of low end in there. Don't need that. Okay, perks. The group. So we've got this loop. That's like a stick hit. Another perk hit. Bongo hit. I'm not too sure why I had that, because it hits on the same perks as these two. But a little bit unnecessary, that. So this is like a perk hit. Like bongos, and like together, it's a nice column response. So yeah, I'm guilty. I should do better column response with my drums. And if you get lazy and use loops like me, it is a little bit harder to create column response. And lastly, for the drums, just got a snare build. Pretty simple. Automating the filter up, and also just automating the pitch to just another little effect you can use, make your drums a little bit more interesting. And it's even handy to automate the volume of your snares, and it just gives a little bit more movement to them. And drum processing wise, got a little bit on here. Probably not all necessary. I'd probably do go a little bit overkill. Yeah, so this is the Monster plugin that I said before to add width. If you're on a headphone, you'll be able to hear that. Soothe, taking out all those harsh frequencies that you don't want. Saturation. Blue compression again, oxygen inflator, another EQ, and just clipping the group a tiny bit there. Probably could have done that a little bit more. You don't really want to hear clipping, so it's normally a good reference point. Okay, next we'll go on to our glitches, which add some good ear candy. Okay, so this is what the glitch group sounds like all together. Okay, so that's what the glitch group sounded like together. And I use a lot of this sound from Rendher sample pack here. This is just adding cool little hits to complement your drums and your bass line, I guess. I'm just going to add this effects. It's almost like a vinyl crackle as well. Add this vocal. So like with the bass line. So it almost like plays off each other. So yeah, like the glitches are just like a nice ear candy to add to make your track sound a little bit more interesting. And I didn't really use effects in this track. Maybe should have used it for the build-up a little. The only effects I really use are these crashes in the drop and breakdown. And I think I actually used the same crash. I don't know why I've done them separate. I think just the volume I've just changed. One way to do it. And I like to have my crashes in mono for some reason. I think it just sounds better. And I usually EQ them. I don't know why I didn't for this tune.
We're sitting here with Easy E. Hit that switch, I'm good.
Oh, I think I made the drop crash a bit shorter. Crashes are a really good way to transition your drops, breaks, your builds, and then maybe drops again. Because when that, you can almost like cut it out so much. And if you've got a crash in there, it just helps blend it so much better.
We're sitting here with Easy E.
So you probably should use the crash there. It's funny when you look back on other projects, you're like, oh, should have done this, should have done that. But I don't know, in the time it sounds good. And after you've heard it a million times, not that you get over it, but like you're happy, you get to a point where you're happy with it. So that is pretty much it for the track. I'll just quickly go through. I just had in my sends, just a bit of drum reverb as well. It's not doing a lot, and I like to sidechain my reverb as well. Probably could have put that louder as well. You can't even really hear that. You don't want to hear drum reverb. It's just to add like space to your mix. But yeah, probably could have put that one a little bit louder. Another thing I probably could have changed. Okay, so that is pretty much the track done. We went through our low end, our kick bass, our vocal, drums, glitches, effects, bit of processing. Like I said, guys, if you've got any questions about anything, please leave them below. If you want to see a video on mixing or me making a tune, please let me know as well. Hopefully you got something out of this. If you did, it'd be really appreciated if you could leave a thumbs up and subscribe. Definitely goes a long way. So yeah, thank you guys if you made it this far, and we'll hopefully see you soon.